but we are doing a hide and seek superhero edition. And the first step is on the midterm. It says, as a team, use an example of a function you created to walk through and demonstrate each of the 7 steps of the function development process to use to design and develop the function. And in the function I've chosen was calculate multiplication. The problem that we were thinking of is, how are we going to show that we can put a limit between 0 and 99 for our math problem that we're going to have to help disarm bombs and try to capture the criminal that's within our game. And to do that, we wrote out a code, and we did a test matrix for it between 0 and 99. And when we wrote out our test matrix, we wrote out the code in our pseudocode for it. For if variable 1 is less than 0, or variable 1 is greater than 99, then return -1, which is our error, saying that this problem will not work. And the same for variable 2. And if our requirements are met for it, it does the multiplication for it and returns the multiplication for that, the answer for that. Then we translated our code into an actual code for it. So public double, calculate multiplication, double variable 1, double variable 2. And so if variable 1 is less than 0 or greater than 99, we return -1, which will be an error, saying that it's not within the range of what our code is written. The same goes for variable 2. When both are within the range of where we want it, it will do the multiplication and return the multiplication to where the answer for what we do. Who would like to take over next?
I can.
Oh, go ahead, Antonio.
And I need to share my screen. So going along with what Joel said, we defined certain problems that we needed to have answered for our program here. And for this example, I wanted to use how to calculate the volume of a pyramid, which takes in 3 different variables, which would be the base, the length, and the height. And each one of those is given a parameter, as Joel just mentioned, where it needs to be greater than 0 and less. In this particular example, it needs to be less than 10 for all 3 variables. And then we develop the test matrix here, as you can see. And this is this test matrix gives us a visual look into how the program will actually function. So anytime that any errors are given out, it would give us a -0. And the reason why it gives us a -0 is just because it's easier for us as programmers to have it return one single variable for any given error, so that we know that it's an error. And when it returns a true value, it returns the correct answer to those questions. So we developed the pseudocode here, and where did it go? And we developed the code here, as you can see, where it takes in a double length, double width, double height. It checks to verify the parameters that we set. So length needs to be greater than 0, equal to or less than 10. Same for the other variables. And then down here, we actually wrote the code where it takes the length, the width, and the height, and it divides it by 3. And in order for it to return the correct value in as far as decimals, we had to round the volume, which that variable which is stated here. We had to round it, multiply it by 100, and then divide it by 100, and that gave us the correct variable. And with that, I'll pass it over to Meg.
Right. Trying to figure out how to share my screen. Here we go. Got it. That's good. There we go. So part of what we had to do with that was, while we wrote the code, and I'm using calc diameter sphere for mine just because it's easiest. And one of the things that Antonio talked about was we had to do the multiplying and dividing by 100. So we figured that out when we were testing it to make sure that our code was actually worked. So we were using the more of the refined stage of the development process. So we would run the test, obviously, and it would tell us, if it did return the -0 or the -1, if it did return the correct answer, and such as that. We used our code to try that. We had to make sure that we had the proper words, proper words for that. So we had to test, refine, make our prototype, and in a few cases we did have to tweak some of the code to make it actually run. And so we did have to go back and run those steps a few times, and such as that. And then one of the, I guess, other things that we're supposed to talk about is scope and life of a variable, and that this whole section that we've been talking about is actually a really good example of that, because we have our main class, which is our question control, but then within each function we can have variables such as area, which ends up being in multiple functions, but as soon as one function ends, it becomes a free sort of variable again, so you can use it multiple times. So, and with that, I'm not entirely sure where to go, so I'm gonna give that back. So where exactly do we want to head from here?
Okay, next, well, we covered most of it already, but each team member should walk through the code of their unit test to create the unit. Oh, sorry, wrong one. As a team, walk through an example of your code to explain the concepts of the scope. Oh, you already did that. Sorry, we're doing this on the first bat. So as a team, create your example. Okay. All right, each team member should use an example of the code that they wrote in one of their individual assignments to demonstrate a strong understanding of when each different type of Java selection statement is used and how to explain the selection statements are used. So I will share something for my game menu. Let me come up. There we go. Okay. So if we're not in the game menu, we have many options like move up, down, left, right, search the area, use hero ability, inventory, so on and so forth. And the users need to make a selection on each of these. And in doing so, I decided to choose a switch instead of an else if. So case U means move up. And when the player or an end user selects this, they get to move up one spot on the map that they do. And since we have not fully created our map yet, the action for it will be put in here, which will make the player move up. And the code for it will be all within this area. The same keeps going on for each of the other selected choices when the player chooses. who would like to go next?
So, Joel, I think we can continue to use your screen and show how the case, or I'm sorry, how the switch statement works.
Okay.
Because we do have one of the views, the help view, in there.
Right.
So I don't know if you can.
I'll pop that up. All right. I shall mute myself. Are you still able to see my screen though?
Yeah.
All right. I'll just present to
So-
everyone, and I shall mute.
So in the switch statement, we, as you can see in Joel's screen here, when each time that the menu comes up, it prompts the user for an input, and whenever that input is taken from the scanner, it checks it against each one of those variables or switch case statements. In this particular case, Joel did mention that we have it written out, but we don't have all the programs, but we do have the help menu, which is present right now. So whenever the user, I believe it was in the game menu view, whenever they hit the H, it would automatically redirect them to this help menu view, which once again, we use another switch statement to, so that the players can get more information about the game, such as what's the goal, how to move, how to use abilities, and how to defuse the bombs. Because we're still early on in our game development, we haven't developed those specific programs just yet. But the layout is there and present so that the end user can quickly access those features whenever they desire. Did you want to add anything, Meg?
I think you guys covered switch statements really great. Joel mentioned the if statement at one point, which we ended up using more in our tests than in our actual code. They're, very similar in use. They just set up a little differently. Case does a, the case of, in this case, selecting something that such as U, D, L, or R will move you in such direction. If statements are just, if this happens, do this. So pretty similar in application, just a little different in its actual coding. While statements, we've got one or two of them in the code with our case statements. While the set parameter is going on, we continue doing this. And then,
do you want to share your screen, Meg, where you see the while statement?
Let me find one. Sorry, give me just a second to actually find a while statement and I will pull this up. Okay. Screens. All right, so this is actually in the hero ability view. And so when we're talking about the hero ability menu, and most of the menus have this, so as long as this part is valid, this will continue to run. So until it's an invalid selection, and then which case, or a quit, and then which case it will return the selection. So.
I believe that covers everything we know of for our midterm for this week. So if we've done well, great. If not, we can try better next time. So until then, have a good day.